This year, I had plenty of memorable moments, and I'm going to run through 10 of them with you in just a moment. Over the season, I had many memorable moments. In fact, I was on the track for 84 days, and today I've narrowed it down to 10 memorable moments, and I'm going to start with a very recent one. This was after the race recently in Abu Dhabi. Here's Nico, one of the Renault mechanics, being wheeled down the paddock. He's covered in food, he's gaffer taped to a gurney, he's having sticky fluids and water poured all over him, and he doesn't seem too unhappy about it. He was headed down to his new team, Toro Rosso. And this is a little quirky ritual that goes on in the paddock where the team that is saying goodbye to the particular team member takes him down, presents him to the new team, as they did in this particular instance. Now, I'd never seen that before, and it was quite a memorable moment for me. My second memorable moment for 2019, and these are in no particular order, was Lewis Hamilton's win of his 6th World Championship. It happened in Austin, Texas. He won the race. In fact, he didn't win the race, did he? Valtteri Bottas won. He came second. He then did his press conference. He walked through the media centre. I got to witness this, and that's the first time I've ever seen him walk through the media centre. In fact, I don't think I've seen another driver in the media centre. He headed out to do his celebrations with Valtteri. Obviously, Valtteri won the race. So then he stood in front of this team. There was a huge throng of photographers taking photos. The champagne came out, and then the media just went to him en masse. His crew picked him up, put him on their shoulders, and at this point, he's got his back to me, and I'm thinking, I'm getting no shot. So I just tapped his crew member that was holding his right leg and said, could you turn him around for us? Which he thankfully did. I was front and centre. He was spraying champagne for a little bit. He's covered in champagne now. He's holding up that flag, giving us the 6 championships, thanking his fans who are across the other side of the track. And this is the view from above. And that's me standing there right in front of Lewis Hamilton. And a great moment to be right amongst that throng. My third memorable moment was from Canada. You'll remember that Sebastian Vettel was relegated to second. He didn't like it. So he went and grabbed the signboards in front of the cars and took Lewis's number 1, gave him the number 2, and took his number 1 back and put it in front of his car. And I love that moment. It was great to be a part of. My fourth memorable moment was a tragic one. It took place on race day at the Belgium Grand Prix, where all of the racing community gathered on the track to support Antoine Hubert's mother and brother, who were there to remember the life of their son who passed away the previous day in a horror crash at the top of Eau Rouge. All of the racing community were there, many of the drivers in the upcoming race, certainly a large throng of photographers. Many of the drivers came up and hugged Antoine's mother afterwards, including Callum Ilott here, Giuliano Alessi and Charles Leclerc. It was a very touching ceremony. There was not a dry eye on the track. I doubt that any of those people there that day will ever forget what went on. At number 5, Pierre Ghastly's second at the Brazil Grand Prix. It was his first time on a podium. It was totally unexpected. It all happened in the last few laps, and it was a great thrill to be that close to the action. And I take my hat off to the young fella. He knew how to celebrate. He went over and got a beautiful hug from Helmut Marko, which was great because, of course, Helmut ended up putting him back to Toro Rosso after it didn't work out at Red Bull. So it was great to see the pair laughing and hugging. He gave me the second place symbol here, and I was particularly touched when his good mate, Charles Leclerc, who had finished out of the placings, ended up walking over to him while he was being interviewed and gave him a lovely hug. He certainly soaked up that winning feeling for the next 10 days before the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. From great elation to great frustration, Nico Hlkenberg at the German Grand Prix, looking like he could end up on the podium, ends up walking back after he comes off the track at that last corner. And I really felt for the man here. You could see he's very unhappy, and he ended up taking a seat in the marshal's hut, helmet in his hands, thinking what could have been. It was a very sad moment for the German, and to have it happen on home soil made it even worse for him. Next up, Charles Leclerc, and what a memorable moment with him winning the Italian Grand Prix in a Ferrari, his second win of his life, and he was amongst a whole lot of people who were just adoring that moment. up on the podium spraying champagne. I thought it was a marvellous win, and then I followed him back out into the paddock, and I got this beautiful series of photos of him hugging Mattia Binotto out the back in the paddock, and it's pure raw emotion. It was such a different win for him than the previous race where he won in Belgium, but of course that was a hollow win after the terrible events of Antoine Hubert's death. Another memorable moment involved Lando Norris doing what he calls the salmon. And I'd never witnessed it before. I didn't know it was a thing. This is where he jumps into his mechanic's arms after the race, well after the race. And this particular instance, they decided to tickle him while they had him. So he was giggling like a child right in front of my lens. I got some lovely photos, and I now know that the salmon is indeed a real thing. My second last memorable moment for this collection of 10 was when this man decided he'd blow me a kiss. And what had preceded was I had a cutout of his wife's head that was sitting over the top of my Canon lens. He's looking at it, and then he decides he's going to give me a mock kiss. And I was there to capture it, and I was so happy that it worked out, because you just don't get photos like this. And my final memorable moment for this video involves Nico Hlkenberg. It was at the back of the FIA garage after the race. Now every other photographer is out the front in pit lane shooting your top three. So I get all of this action to myself. He gives me a wink, he gives me the thumbs up. He then goes and hugs his girlfriend. Now I must admit, I'd never ever seen them have a hug or a kiss. So I got this beautiful touching moment at the back of the garage on my own. And then I shoot the man as he leaves the track for the last time, perhaps for the last time in his career as an F1 driver. They are 10 of my most memorable moments from 2019. Remember to like and subscribe so you don't miss out on YouTube videos in the future. And if you hit the bell button, you'll make sure that you see them first, not last. Your comments are always appreciated. You can own any of my images by heading to prostarpics.com. My blogs and podcasts are at kimellman.com, and you'll see my best pics and stories on Instagram at kimellman, even during the off-season. Thanks for watching, and stay passionate.